I'm Chuck Williams. I'm pastor of First Baptist Church, Covington, Tennessee. Well, I grew up in a good Christian home. My dad was a pastor. In fact, I'm here in Covington right now because my dad pastored a church right outside of Covington. He was a godly man. I can remember being greatly affected by his devotion, not his preaching, but his devotion. I could hear him sometimes at night praying. But in spite of all that, I turned a deaf ear and a hard heart towards the Lord when I came into my teenage years. It was the pull of the world. It was just the enticement of sin. Maybe it was just the pressure of people around me. It's just a thing that a lot of teenagers go through. There are different reasons why, but I allowed myself to get sucked into that vortex. And I've still got some of the scars and memories from that. My life was spiraling downhill, turned away from the Lord. Because I didn't run with the popular crowd, I surrounded myself with people who just kind of did stuff on the weekends. You know how you just kind of do stuff, whatever kind of quote excitement that can be. And Sunday night, sang in the choir sometimes and just felt like the world's greatest hypocrite. It was a very uneasy life to have to live knowing that the life that you were living certainly didn't match up with the presence that you had in church. But sometimes we want God to do something in a person's life, but we can't imagine how it's going to work. And I know my dad could not imagine how it would have worked, but I went to a Christian university. Did not want to go, but in order to appease my parents, I went to Union University. But while I was there at Union University, I followed the same pattern that I had while I was in Covington. I surrounded myself with people that did stuff. In a fraternity, not saying every fraternity is bad, but this one that I was a part of had plenty of opportunities to do stuff. So, once again, going down that same road, didn't have to worry about people in town watching me because I was in a new town. Didn't know where my life was going, and in the back of my mind, I knew that this could not continue. But it was kind of like, I don't know, when you're going downhill and you don't have any brakes, you're really not sure how to stop the vehicle you're in. For me, very, very dramatic and unexpected. I came in one night from work. In my dorm room was my roommate. He also was from the same town, and we had been doing stuff together with other people. But when I came in from work, he looked like a different person, and he just had a different tone in his voice. And the words that blurted out of his mouth were room. He called me Roomie for roommate. He called me Roomie. I just got saved. And I looked at him like, what? You talk about something coming out of the blue and unexpected, it just absolutely floored me. And so I tried to be cordial, but on the inside I was like, oh no, this is very uncomfortable. And he told me about how that he had been upstairs on the third floor, hanging out with a couple of guys as they were studying for a test. And they were devout Christians, but he needed help studying for the test. And so while the study session was going on, they just began to share their testimony with him, and they asked him, they said, Tim, have you ever given your heart to Christ? And Tim said, well, sure, because he had gone to church. So they talked to him about what it really meant to be a Christian. And after they finished talking with him, he realized he had never given his heart to Christ. And when he knelt beside the bed in their room, a life-changing event took place in his life. And so he came downstairs, and I think it was around 10 or 11 o'clock at night when I had come in from work, and he started telling me all about it. That was when I felt like there was a wave of questions and chaos that raced through my mind and heart. But one of the things that raced through my mind and heart is, this is God speaking to you. You better listen. And so I talked with him and I listened to him, but the whole time I was listening to him, really I was listening to God. Tim was talking, but God was really talking to me and giving me a real reaching out to me through Tim. And I'll just never forget all the confusion and the chaos that I was feeling going on in my heart. I think it was like 1 o'clock in the morning after he and I had talked back and forth, and we turned the lights out. And so the lights were out for a while, and then I woke him up. I said, Tim, I need to give my heart to the Lord. Now, let me just backtrack for a moment. There was a reason why I was so hesitant about turning my life over to Christ. And it had to do with the future that I knew the Lord had for my life. And one of the reasons why I was doing stuff was because I was like Jonah. I knew God had a call on my life. I had seen it in my dad, and I had seen God work through him. And I knew that God, years ago, years before that, the Lord had said, I'm setting you apart for ministry. And I said, no, nope, don't want any of that. So in my kneeling down beside the bed and giving my heart to Christ, I was also kneeling and giving my heart to ministry. God orchestrated Tim being saved in order for me to come to know the Lord. He orchestrated and put it all together, answered prayers in ways I could never have imagined.